Good morning. Last Monday night, a horrible accident occurred on the Connecticut River in Old Saybrook. A boat with 9 people on board slammed into a breakwater, resulting in fatalities and serious injuries. The agency leading rescue and recovery efforts is the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection's EnCon Marine Police. Captain Keith Williams heads that group and joins us now from Old Lyme. Captain Williams, thank you for being with us. We know this call came in at 9:10 p.m., so it was dark or at least dusk in that area. Tell me about the response when a call like that comes in. 9 people on board, a serious crash, a search and rescue. What happens? Who gets mobilized, and how does it go from the beginning?
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. So, yeah, these are very complex situations, very unfortunate situations, and a lot of agencies get involved immediately when a 911 call comes in. So usually the local PDs get the 911 calls. Those get dispatched to our dispatch center. They mobilize us as well as the nearest emergency assets, so local police departments that are in the area that may have marine units, police departments that have vessels that are willing to search and go out and do search and rescue. Those are usually typically the first responders that come out. In this area, sea tow, towboat, those individuals also get notifications through different messaging groups. We have a Region 4 out of New London. It's a maritime response group. All these different entities and agencies get involved right off the bat, and as well as the U.S. Coast Guard. They get notified immediately of these situations. They send vessel and air assets out immediately. So there's a lot that's involved with the initial response when a 911 call comes in. So a lot of different agencies, vessels, airborne assets, state police, their assets, anybody that we can get a hold of to assist that has capabilities for marine environment, we reach out to them immediately and get them mobilized. And
I know the reports are, and we were looking as you were talking at some of the video of the daytime and nighttime assets there on the scene, over 100 personnel involved. You're a police officer, and as a police officer, responding to crashes and accidents and tragedies is part of the job. But when it's on the water, it's a very different scene than, say, 2 cars that crash on a highway. What is that initial response? How does the water complicate that, and how do you overcome that complication?
Right. So for us and most marine units, we train every year on our vessels to be ready for responses like this. We have several of our officers or instructors through NASBLA. They actually teach, teach people and officers how to properly boat and be ready for situations like this. So in this particular incident, obviously nighttime, different parameters at night. It's very difficult at night to be on a vessel if you're not quite sure what you're doing or not comfortable with it. Your depth perception is definitely impaired. So there's a lot of factors that you have to take into even before you get on a boat, to make sure you're mentally prepared, make sure your equipment is working right, make sure all your safety precautions are in place, before you even start the boat in motion. So then obviously once you get going, especially at night, you're looking at all kinds of factors in the water, other boats that might be around that don't have their required navigation lights on, any hazards that you may not see. So there's a lot of factors involved, especially at night, when your vision is impaired and you're trying to conduct a search and rescue operation.
Now, tell me about what comes next. Obviously, the families of those involved, we're so appreciative of that initial response, but there's a lot of work left to do. Tell me what kind of investigation now has to happen, because I know your officers, your unit is going to be handling that. Is it similar to what we see in a car accident where there will be a reconstruction? What are the next steps of trying to figure out what went wrong last Monday night?
Correct. So it is similar to a motor vehicle accident reconstruction. Obviously, it's a little different when you're on the water. When you look at a motor vehicle accident on pavement, you have skid marks and yaw marks that people look at. On the water, it's a little different. So our boating accident reconstruction unit goes through a series of levels of training through NASBLA for boat accident reconstruction. They're very good at what they do. We have the boat in our possession, and so they will be trying to reconstruct the scene based on damage evidence that they find on the vessel, damage evidence that they find on the break wall. You're looking at fiberglass transfer, paint transfer, very similar to motor vehicle. We also will be looking at the vessel's GPS unit and also the electronic control units off the engines. That data can be downloaded and will kind of paint the picture as to, the travel of the vessel, hopefully where it came, where it started, its voyage, where it went to, and obviously the point of impact at the time of the incident.
Tell me about the area where this happened. This is, as our crews reported, this is the second Labor Day in a row that there was a serious crash in that same area. Is it an area that's a trouble spot for boaters? Is it difficult? Is it just coincidence that that similar crashes happen 2 years in a row? Tell me about that area and what it takes to navigate it, especially at night.
Okay. Yeah, so that area is, it's the mouth of the Connecticut River. It is bordered by two break walls. The east and the west break wall, the mouth of the Connecticut River. It is marked by navigational aids from the U.S. Coast Guard that are lit up at night. The actual break wall itself has a day marker on it, but no visual lights on it. So the actual course for people to take is through that navigable channel. So those navigational buoys, the channel markers, are lit up. They mark the channel, and what happens is a lot of individuals that either are familiar with the area, most often than not, they're familiar with the area, and they try to go on the east side of the channel to avoid the slow no wake zone there. So those people that do that at their own risk, and obviously we've had some incidents there, but it's one of those areas where the channel is marked. The Coast Guard channel markers are there. They are lit up at night. The actual break wall has a day marker, but the day marker has no light on it. So for those that are going out on boats, to and from that area, especially at night when your vision is impaired, must have good electronics, radar, GPS on their boat, chart plotters that can actually see these on the chart while they're traversing at night. Without that capability, you're pretty much running blind. Without seeing the lights in the channel that are marked, at nighttime you wouldn't even see that break wall, especially if there's no moonlight or any visible light, from any lights surrounding buildings or anything like that. If it's dark, obviously the fog has a major factor with that. You wouldn't be able to see that if you didn't have proper electronic equipment on board. And so that plays a huge part in it.
Yeah, we saw some video while you were talking of that concrete monument with the marker on the top that obviously is not lit up at nighttime. I know, the first thing they teach you when you take the boating class is, red, right, returning, which is just what you were talking about, those lit channel markers on your way back in. Is there other advice you would give people? You talked about the GPS, you talked about staying in the channel, and I've operated a boat out in that area, and I know many people don't, and many locals don't, because it's just a quicker way in. What do you tell people moving forward? We only have about a minute left, but do you have some advice you would give people if they're boating in that area, particularly at night?
Absolutely. In that area at night, make sure you have your equipment that works, that's capable of displaying those channel markers at night. If that means you have to spend more money on good equipment to show that if you're going out at night, I would suggest people do that. It's worth the investment. Stay in the channel if you're not familiar with either side of it, because either side of it is very shallow. And if you're not familiar with it and you don't have the electronics to see where you're going at night, obviously accidents can happen, and the consequences can be serious. So invest in equipment. I advise people to stay in the channel. I know it's a slow no wake area, but the alternative is obviously could be very tragic. So that would be my advice for people going out.
And listen, I'm not going to, and I know you're out on boats all the time, I'm not going to tell you that I always go out on a boat with my life jacket on, as many people don't. The kids always have them on. I don't always wear one. But I think you see something like this, and sometimes by the time you know you need one, it's too late. Always a good reminder to give people that they, that if you have it on, it's just like that seatbelt on the airplane. Put it on in advance, because by the time you know you need it, it's too late. Right, Captain?
Absolutely, and for those that think they're not comfortable, what the alternative is not good. So especially at nighttime, open boats. If you're traversing, if you have life jackets on board, which are required by law for every person on the vessel, I would suggest wearing them.
All right, Captain Keith Williams, for the head of the DEEP EnCon Marine Unit. We know you have a lot of work ahead of you for you and your folks. We appreciate you taking a few minutes of your time to talk with us. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.